And hello there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Iron Men. My name is Tom. I'm the facilitator for this group. We are glad that you joined the group of us who are here on Zoom. And if you're watching on rewatch, we hope this is helpful for you. Let me talk a little bit about this group and lay out some principles, just if you're just joining us, and kind of how we follow and what we do with these. So this is tonight. We are studying shift number 7 of Jamil Frazier's book. Shift number 7 is It Is Bigger Than Me. We have 4 tent poles to this group. We have number 1, story, where we will get somebody to share a story to study. That's when we're studying a particular text. 3 is support, where we'll share recipes or ideas on how to pursue optimal health. And then 4, we turn off the recording and we just talk and share on anything that might be on our hearts or minds, Optavia related or not. A few meeting principles we have. We limit crosstalk, hard to do on Zoom anyway. We end up talking each over. So let someone talk and then you can talk and then we can talk. It's hard to have a lot of dialogue on this back and forth. If you're not sharing, remain muted to avoid background noises. We're going to avoid divisive issues, and we share from our experience rather than try to fix each other. We're here to sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron, hence the name Iron Men. The group is not a teaching time. It is not me teaching the text. I'm just going through it with you guys, and sometimes I don't understand it. And sometimes that's where I need, other guys to jump up and explain it to me. It's not a soapbox. It's not a substitute for reading the text. It's not a negative space, nor is it a time to try to sell people on Optavia. It is group-led, discussion-based, interactive, welcoming, honest, and positive. And there's Jamil. Hi, Jamil. Thanks. So he is the author of the 12 shifts that we'll be talking about. So before we get into that, I want to go around the group real quick, and we can introduce ourselves. I thought also it might be fun this time around as we go around to share where we are born. We all have shared where we're from before, but where we're born might be completely different. I know it is in my case. So my name is Tom, and I currently am in Lakeland, Florida. But I was born in Wichita, Kansas. I have no memory of it. I've never been back. So I guess I'm a Jayhawk, but I don't really know. Alan, why don't you go next?
Okay, I am Alan, and I was born and raised in the Lehigh Valley in the suburbs of Bethlehem in a little town called Hellertown. And that's the homeland of my ancestors, basically. So that's where I'm from. Have not been in that neck of the woods as a resident in nigh on to 30 some years, so half a lifetime basically. But it's still what we call home.
Excellent. Mr. Hanley.
Yeah, so John Hanley, I live in the Dominican Republic. I was born in San Angelo, Texas, and lived in Texas until I was 18, but not San Angelo. Kind of like you, Tom, I don't remember ever living in San Angelo. We moved about 4 hours away, where I grew up the majority of my life, in Lubbock, Texas.
Awesome. And now I'll ask Kevin, before he's about to stuff his face, because he looks like he's getting a wonderful dinner served up there to him. Kevin, what about you?
What's your name? My name's Kevin.
Who's your coach?
Cindy's my coach.
Where are you from? What planet were you from?
I'm from Philly.
No, you're not. You live in Philly, but 2 years. You're from Warminster.
I'm from Warminster. I moved up in Quakertown about 25 years, 30 years, 37?
27.
27 years. Pretty much it.
How much did you lose on program so far?
How
much did you lose on program?
What did I lose? 45, 50? About 50 pounds on the program.
Great.
I feel great. So.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much, and thanks for being here tonight.
No problem.
John Irway.
So I'm John Irway, and fun fact, before I get to where I was born, Tom, I got my first trombone from the Wichita Band Company. So Yeah, interesting. It was a Silver King 3B. Beautiful truck. I still have it.
So
Anyways,
we're practically related. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we're tight. I was born in Elmira, New York, which is not a super well-known town, but it is where Mark Twain wrote The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
It is also the subject of a song by the Oak Ridge Boys.
I did not know that.
Timothy got it. Yeah. Elvira is the name of the song.
Oh,
Elvira.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not Elvira.
Yeah, no, Elmira. Got it. Oh, that would have been a weird subject for a song. All right. And then Slimothy, you're up.
All right. I live in Lakewood, New Jersey. I was born in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. I was raised in Bloomingdale, New Jersey until I moved to Pennsylvania. But I don't have any funny stories. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. We always need a straight man. Everybody's going for the jokes that we never get anywhere. All right. So as far as the story here goes today, Alan has agreed to share a little bit on his decision to be a coach and kind of pay forward his experience in the program. So I'll turn the floor over to him.
Okay. So my experience as somebody who went through a weight loss process was quick and easy. I was a rule follower. I got into fat burn. I stayed in fat burn. I lost my weight. Did a transition. Life is wonderful, right? My coach wanted me to coach from halfway through my weight loss. And I was like, no, I will refer people to you, but I have another job. But I attended a transformational thought event, a weekend event with my wife for something that she had been doing. And as part of that was looking at ways that we give back to the people around us, where the idea of paying it forward. And came to the understanding that not only could I pay it forward and help other people to do what I had done, but I could actually make a little bit of money doing it at the same time. And that I really did need to do this, not because it was going to be my primary business at the time, not because it was going to make me wealthy, but because it was going to help other people. And when I called up my coach and said, okay, I'm going to get my coaching kit, she's like, oh, really? That's and now I'm still actively doing it. And she has kind of stepped to the side and hasn't been active for the last 2 years. She's been kind of on autopilot. So it's interesting, the ebbs and flows that we go through, but the community that we're in, both this group and the other activities that I'm able to be a part of with the morning show and whatnot, is definitely a big part of keeping me at a state of health that is much, much better than where I had been when I started it all. So yeah, this is powerful stuff and why I'm here. So, cool.
Great. Yeah, thanks, man. And yeah, being part of those groups and being a coach itself just adds just a layer of accountability to ourselves and our own health journeys, and can't be anything but good. All right, let us dive into the text here. Just before we get, does anybody actually have the book with you by any chance? I left mine downstairs. So if anyone has it, I can get it. I just have one part of the text that I wanted to reference specifically. All right, let me get into the things again. Where do we go? Wouldn't you know it? Oh, there we are. All right, so we right where we left off. Thank you, Alan. If I can, I will call on you to read just a short paragraph as we get going. All right, shift number 7. It is bigger than you, or it is bigger than me. And I'm going to be honest, just straight up. This is one that I had some issues with for a variety of reasons, which we may or may not get into. But I do tend to struggle when we start talking about metaphysical, spiritual things outside what I can see, feel, touch, and hear. So even his opening salvo here, could it be possible that your life is not your life? That is kind of his opening thought in the book, and is a big question. Could it be possible then that your life is not actually your life? I go back to being an actor. I, of course, am a fan of Shakespeare, and I'm reminded of the line from Hamlet where he says, "There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy." So I totally acknowledge the fact that I don't know at all. There are things I don't understand that I couldn't dream of that may be true. And a lot of the stuff that he talks about in this book or in this chapter, I struggled with as well. Anybody else have any similar thoughts, or did this really just resonate with anybody and you were just like, finally, this all makes sense? Anybody got anything they want to talk about with that?
I just had to find the unmute button. I guess when you start talking about going to see that shaman kind of thing, that was like that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone there, I guess you could say. Going to a mountaintop in Tibet with some monk. But I mean, everything else I kind of was getting to grasp what he was saying there, and it's bigger than you, in the sense that it's, we have a purpose, and we just have to find out what that purpose is. When I read that line again, just as you were talking, could it be possible that your life is not actually your life? I'm a Christian, so I guess I would have to say, well, yeah, it's not actually my life, it's God's life. I'm an instrument of his in some way, shape, or form, however he wants to use me. So God is ultimately in control of my life. So I don't know if you get what I'm saying or not.
No, totally. Yeah, I get you. And people are going to come from different viewpoints based on their own understanding of life and spirituality and everything else. Tim, just when you shared that and you read it, could it be possible that your life is not your life? You really emphasized that second "your," and that kind of that kind of shifted a little bit for me, to that my life is not just my life, but it is also a life that is connected with other people's lives. It's not just about me. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than what I am doing, experiencing, and living in the world. It is about all the lives that I'm intertwined with. I can't just say, hey, this is my life, I do my thing, because my thing affects everybody. We all have ripples. We all have consequences to our actions, and we can't just wall ourselves off and say, this is my life and it has nothing to do with you, because that's not true. Anybody else want to jump in on this? Thoughts, questions, concerns?
John has his hand up. I don't know if you can see that or not, Tom.
I do not see that.
Okay, I put my hand up. I'll lower it now. No, I was just thinking, like Tim, I'm a Christian, a believer, so my mind instantly went to, it's a fairly standard theological principle that my life is not my own. But even outside of that, I've had a lot of experiences, like alone in the woods, where you're just surrounded by nature, or out at night watching the stars and realizing how insanely insignificant we are compared to the vastness of the universe, and realizing that I'm just one little part of this whole thing that we know as the world. And it's even setting aside my own spirituality, it has to be bigger than just me. It has to be. I don't understand how people can think it's not, that it's just the the dash between our birth date and our death date, and that's all there is. I don't know. It's just, to me, it seems clear that we have a lot more going on than just what we see right now, right here.
Awesome. John Hanley, I do see your hand raised.
I see that hand. So there was, to me, it was kind of a short chapter for one, and he touches on these very life-changing moments, you know, just drastic moments in his life. And so I think part of it was just, and he mentioning it in another book, but it just kind of needed more context, more how this impacted him. I felt like not to really get, I mean, I pulled some good stuff out of it, and I do understand. I mean, we moved to the Dominican Republic 15 years ago, and there was a lot that went into that decision, and a lot of times I have to tell that story in 10 minutes, and so you just have to hit the high points. But I mean, I think you can get to his point by kind of having to fill in some of what must have happened between 18 on the mission field to being on a hallucinogenic journey with somebody to then being back with there's a journey that happened there that we only get kind of 3 peak moments from in the short chapter. But yeah, so it kind of took reading a little bit into that, and then also just realizing, okay, this is his key points. Maybe we could have heard a bit more of the story to gotten there a little easier.
Yeah, that's good points, John. It is kind of like a Cliff Notes version of his spiritual journey. And, I think he included those specific moments because they were the most impactful, kind of like the peaks as opposed to the valleys. But a lot of times the valleys are pretty interesting as well. Anybody else got anything on this before we move to the next thing? All right. So this next point, the need to do versus the need to be done to. So here's where I really broke my brain broke, right? Because all along he's been talking about you need to do your own push-ups. You need to do the work. You need to go. You need to push. You need to be driven. You need to never surrender, never said, it's just, to me, it's been up to this point, it's been all about doing the hard work. And now he says, but what if you didn't do it? What if you just sat back and let things happen? So I've spent the better part now of 2.5 weeks on and off of trying to reconcile those two. And I see Alan wants to jump in. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It's a sneaky little piece, but there's the right. I can relate to the I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. There's a Pennsylvania Dutch German duty. We're going to do what we got to do because we said we're going to do it, so we're going to do it. But the bit that's in the book is, what if we called a timeout on working and hustling and doing just for a little while and focused on being done? And then he goes into the whole San Mateo story later on. What we're focusing on and where we're putting our energy and whether we're in tune with what's happening in the rest of the world and not just being our own little life inside of it, is where we become aware of what else is going on. And when we're in the midst of the do, and I've got to chug along this track, we don't see the other things that are open to us as possibilities. And that was a piece of this chapter that definitely was kind of tapping on my head a little bit. And yeah, but it's not necessarily just being a human being as opposed to being a human doing, but it's being present and centered and thoughtful and aware and not just kind of zoning out.
Right. Yeah. That's good insight. And you kind of have to look for those little words like stop doing for a while. It's not that we don't ever, it's not that we forever stop doing the work, but it's good to be still every now and then. And, it's all about learning to be comfortable in solitude sometimes, and hearing that voice, hearing that whatever that is that you believe is pushing you on to the next point. And you mentioned the San Mateo story, and for those of you who may not have read the text, the San Mateo story is basically a time where he went to a wedding in California, and he just basically had a conversation with one woman that turned into his conversation with two other women that turned into a conversation with their friends. And I think it was in one weekend, he got 32 clients just by doing something he felt he should have been doing, which was go to the wedding. He didn't really want to go, but he felt like he should go. So he followed that voice, that feeling, that intuition, whatever it was. He went to the thing, and it turned out being very successful. Now I can relate to that. I have gone to things, gone to events, and in those events met people that turned out to be collaborators and great networking friends, and just because I went to the thing, which is why, we always say go to all of the things and be seen, because you don't know how that's going to impact you and impact others. Alan, could I ask you to read, is it page 151? And before we go on to the next thing, and this one is, this is kind of what you were talking about, Alan, with your point earlier, but I think this kind of, for me, sums up my understanding of the need to do versus the need to be done to. Did you see, Alan, it starts with, what if I did do the work? Did I do the work? Yes. That little paragraph there, could you?
Yep, that's the end of the San Mateo story. Is that,
Right.
Did I do the work? Yes. Did I talk to people? Yes. Did I share my story and vision? Yes. But all the while, the whispers were there. The gravitational pull remained strong, and I just needed to give into it, follow its call, and stay within the flow. This was a shift of monumental proportions. And that was the being in tune with, whether it's something spiritual, whether it's intuition, whatever the universe is, somehow talking to you. And everybody's got their own way that they translate that. Being there and being present, being centered on it, and allowing yourself to hear it. Yeah, and like I said, that kind of sums it all up. So being open to the fact that there could be other things out there besides what you know in your own experience, and just being open to the moment. Oh, we had hey, Pat, good to see you.
Hello. Sorry, I'm late. I had troubles joining. My bad.
You're all good, man. It's good to see you again. Yeah, so we're just working through shift 7. And now we move into the next part of shift 7, which is the real heady stuff, forgetting our purpose, and what is our purpose. Now he talks early on about, from an early age, what he did was he always brought people together. He was a facilitator. He would kind of work with meeting this person who needed to meet that person. It was something he recognized in himself as an early age. But as he went on, he forgot that. And then when he got into his coaching business, realized, oh no, this was the thing I used to do. So I'm not sure if I can remember back that far. I do remember with my son, seeing him, and just as a small boy, he was always very kind to people. And that that's a pretty great purpose, to be kind to your fellow man. But he asked the question, what is our purpose? Or I'm sorry, why were you born? Right. And he asks people that. And so I conducted, and I asked a couple of guys to help me as well, to conduct a little social experiment on social media and put this out on Facebook and see what the answers were. And I tell you, it was one of my most engaged with posts on my original one. I had 53 comments on it, with people just really getting into it. And what I thought was interesting, and I'm going to ask the others to share their results too, and see how they're similar, but or if they differ. I'd be interested to find out. Almost the majority of the answers were either crass or, jokes. Even though I said serious answers, please, a lot of it was, well, my mom and dad got bored, or, Valentine's Day, or, lots of jokes about procreation. And people make jokes and laugh when they're defensive, when they're uncomfortable, right? And so I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they don't know, and that question scares them. And it's also, I have a lot of younger friends too, like 30s and younger. And I think especially at that age, they don't know. And I mean, I don't know that I know at 56. So I'm sure I didn't know when I was 25. But that's where a lot of that joke comes in. Did you guys, I think it was John and Alan both did that. Did y'all get a lot of that?
Yeah, it was for me. It was one of two categories. It was either the crass procreation joke, or it was the Christians I'm connected with talking about directing people to God.
Right, Alan.
Mine was interesting. I did not get a ton of interaction with it. I had 5 people who commented on it. Only one of them hit me with an I don't know. And the other 4, it was definitely, you could see their personality in the comment, and they were serious responses. But one of them was to provide comic relief and help people laugh through the challenges of life. And this is somebody who's a stroke survivor and is typically on social media talking about his challenges of living as somebody who's post-stroke, using that as humor to entertain other people. And, it's great for him. He's still got something going on that in his 50s, he's reaching out and running the world, having a good time with it. But I can tell you with absolute certainty that every single one of the people that responded to mine was 50 plus and pushing 60. So
Right.
there's definitely a different pool there.
Yeah. So I've kind of cataloged some of the responses that really kind of stuck out to me, and I wanted to share them with you. And I'll just read them. So to live life to the fullest, to make a difference, to spread love and acceptance, to give to others, to serve others, and make a shift in the way people see the world, to spread love, to make my corner of the world a little better, to ease suffering, to learn to live and love, to add levity, to create happiness, to rock. And then I go back and look at all the infinitives, right? To live, to make, to spread, to give, to serve, to learn, to ease, to add, to create. All of those are about other people. There was only one response I had, which is, I want to live a good, fun life and do all the fun things. And that was a younger person, which is totally legitimate and fine at that age. But I was struck by how many of these responses were, it's bigger than me, right? It's about me helping others. It's about me making the world a better place and all of those things. And then there was one that really hit me between the eyes, because you know, whether you're coming from a Christian background, in my case, a post-Christian background, or other people from an atheistic background or agnostic, we can debate, you know, is there a God? Is there not a God? That to me is kind of in a larger scale, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but it's irrelevant because we can't prove it. You're going to believe what you believe. I'm going to believe what I believe. That's not the point. Why we were born is irrelevant, or at the very least unprovable. What are you going to do with the time that we have? So the person said, there is no reason I was born, but there is a reason I am alive. And I really liked that. That to me kind of cuts to it all, through the noise, and just says, it doesn't matter why I'm here. What am I going to do? And that ties in beautifully with our overall thing of, it's bigger than me, right? We're going to go out and we're going to try to help people. It's a lot of the reasons why those of us who are coaches got into the coaching field, is because we want to help people. We want to ease, we want to add, we want to create, we want to shift, we want to change. We want to help all of these things. We could just do the program, lose the weight, not talk to anybody about it. But when you realize that it is bigger than you, then that becomes that need to share. That's a lot of me talking. Anybody else want to jump in on this? This is some really interesting stuff. Pat, I'm interested, as the younger member of the group. You ever given any of this kind of thought? Why are you here? Why are you on the earth? It's a big topic.
I'm sorry, you said my name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did. I
Oh
was
my
just
gosh,
asking.
I said Adam. My bad.
Oh, no, Pat. Yeah.
Sorry, can you say your question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just, as kind of the younger member of the group here, this is a big question. Why are we on the earth? Have you given any of that thought at your younger age?
Well, I could give you the church answer,
Right.
but that doesn't matter, or it does matter, but not right now. I guess I mean, I don't really know. I to be honest, I haven't really thought about it too much. Yeah, no, I just haven't really thought about it too much, really. Yeah,
That's,
no.
and that's absolutely normal.
Yeah, no, just that.
Yeah.
No.
It's yeah, that is just something that as you get older, you start to ask questions. I was just curious. All right, so anybody else got anything to add on this before we move on?
Well, one thing that does stand out to me, yeah, I think we've kind of said this already, but just the reality that no matter what background we come from, no matter what our belief system is, ultimately the vast majority of people want to lead a purposeful life that brings good to the world, however that looks based on their perspective. You know, of course there are a handful of evil people that wish to just bring death and destruction because they're twisted or, you know, sick or whatever. But ultimately, I think the huge majority of us all want to do something that adds value to the world.
Yeah. And I'm thankful that that's the case. Yeah. All right, let me go back. I'm going to sum up here. There's the quote that I said, there is no reason that I was born, but there is a reason that I'm alive. So I think my pullout from all of this on my end from this chapter was, if you do the work, the results will follow. And a metaphor kind of came to mind. let's say I go into a empty field and I plant a tree. I dig a hole, I bring the tree there, I plant the tree in there, I make sure it's packed in well, I give it water, make sure it has got plenty of sunlight. I keep pests and things off of it. I do the thing till it's healthy and planted. Then I go off and leave. Now, I did the work, but because it is bigger than me, and there is sun and there is rain and there is time, I could have my descendants come back in 100 years, and where I planted that tree, there's now a forest, because that tree reproduces, it spreads, it grows. And just because I did the one thing, there's now a forest in this field, which then forests impact the world and impact the atmosphere and all of that. And so that to me is kind of like was what I gleaned from this chapter, that if I do the work, good things are going to happen. The forest is going to grow, and I may not even see it. But because it is not just me, there are principles and in effect, there are other lies attached to mine, that the results are going to follow. Does that ring true with anybody else? Just me? What do they say? Pop a 1 in the chat if that. We're not a pop things in the chat kind of group. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I think that I had to step out the room and help Joy with something real quick. But I think it said, do the work and the results will follow. And I think that can, applies to all the health journeys that we have been on. We did the work, we followed what the program told us to do, and the results came, and so we can apply it to our health journeys, but you can apply that to, the other journeys in our life, whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, whatever,
Yeah.
So.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Alan.
Yeah. That sum up answer or statement of doing the work and the results will follow, tying in with the being a doer and the whole San Mateo story. If you haven't done your internal preparation, if you haven't learned what the 4 pillars of the program are, if you haven't practiced healthy eating, healthy movement, healthy hydration, all of the things that make it work, and then you're presented the opportunity to discuss it and share it with somebody else, but you don't know what you're talking about, you fall on your face. You have to have done the work to have the confidence and the knowledge to do the conversation when the conversation comes. And you have to be listening for the opportunity to have the conversation, not going out there beating people over the head. Hey, I want to tell you about this thing. Or they all run scattered. So it's all of that.
Yeah.
It's a for a short chapter, it's a big picture chapter. There's a lot in there. Very
much. And just for you saying that, flash me back to shift 2, which is do your own push-ups. You have to do the work. You can't rest on anybody else's work. I can't. In preparing for tonight, I couldn't read somebody else's summation of the chapter. I had to get into the text and take it apart and really sit with it for a while to do the work, and hopefully it was effective. So yeah, you got to do your own work, otherwise people can tell, I think. All right, so big stuff, big heady stuff, but I think we covered a lot of ground there. Anybody else got anything to share on this shift before we move into John Orway's kitchen?
Oh, I'll say one thing real quick if I can. My internet's kind of acting up. Is it going to let me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay. So, I mean, one thing that I kind of pulled out of it, you touched on by talking about how when your son David was younger, and he was kind. But he is kind now. I'm not saying he is not now, but so one thing I took out of it is remember who you are, not just remember that, you know, it's because, you know, he uses the word prophet as who he was before, and that's a big word that is kind of was a like a I don't know. It was a difficult word to jump over. It's not a word we use a lot in normal in day-to-day conversations, but to me it was, hey, remember who you were. Remember the characteristics, your personality traits. Remember all the things that came easy to you when you were young. That may be because life is difficult and has gotten in the way, and different things have become priorities, and things are harder, and different stuff has happened. Come back to that at some point. Come back to what were your base personality characteristics, and be okay with that, and put that into what you're doing now, instead of trying to cover it up with all of this other, what might be acceptable business lingo or acceptable sales techniques and something like that, and focus on who you were, because that's who you are, and be okay with that. Was kind of something, again, I had to pull a few things out to get that. But when he talks about, you know, this is who I was told, who I thought I was, then this is who I was told I was, and then this is who somebody agreed with me that, yeah, that's who you are. But he only remembered that at certain key points. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah. No, I think if just to kind of sum up, it's about being authentic, being your true self, and being honest. And I think that means a lot. Again, people can tell if you haven't done the work. If you're not being authentic, people can tell. Yeah, thanks for those thoughts in chat, Alan. Agreed. Okay, so thanks for everybody sharing. That was a good discussion. We now want to move into the next part, the support part of the meeting. And Mr. John Irway is going to take us into his kitchen and tell us all about California cauliflower crust pepperoni pizza. John, can you tell us a little bit about this beautiful thing that we're seeing here? And did you make it?
So I've made this, I don't even know how many times now. Has anyone else had this yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you have to understand that for me, my entire life, pizza has been my kryptonite. Like, I mean, pizza's my jam. And the thought of not having that as a part of my life was very devastating to me. So when I came across this, I thought, well, there's no way it's going to be any good. I think we initially found this on Optavia's Pinterest page. So this is actually an Optavia recipe. So we know it's legit in terms of its nutritional value. But my wife and I have made a lot of iterations of it, and we've discovered a couple different things to make it even better than it was the first time we had it. And I know a lot of people will they'll go out and buy their cauliflower crust pizza, or the crust itself. You can buy them frozen. I will warn you that you have to be very careful with what product you choose if you go with a pre-made frozen cauliflower crust, because some of them are horrifically bad. And I honestly forget which ones are good and which ones are bad, because we just always make our own, because it's really not that difficult. And then I know exactly what's going in there. But to me, the trick to the whole thing is you have to take the cauliflower and put it like in a food processor and rice it. And then we will put it into a bowl and microwave it for minutes, stir it, microwave it for another 5 minutes. So you're microwaving it for 10 minutes total. And then what I do is I'll take some cheesecloth and put it into a vegetable ricer, the press thing that has a little bowl in it. So I'll line that with the cheesecloth, fill it with a couple spoonfuls of the cauliflower, the steamed riced cauliflower, squeeze as much moisture out of it as possible, and then set it to the side and do another little bit of it. So the whole idea is you want to try to get as much moisture out of that cauliflower as possible before you mix the egg, the Parmesan, the seasonings in with it to make the crust. And then from there, you bake it, bring it out, top it. That recipe is set up for a low carb, low sugar sauce like a Rouse. Personally, at this point, I prefer to just use the little cans of Hunt's tomato sauce that has oregano and basil in it, because that's even lower carbohydrate than the Rouse, and to me, it's just as good for the pizza. And of course, you can top it with different things, different vegetables, different meats, and such. But the other thing that Tammy and I do all the time, because it's a process to make that crust, we will process like 5 or 6 heads of cauliflower and make, somewhere between 15 and 20 crusts, and then freeze them. And then that'll last us for several months. You can just go in, pull out a frozen crust, pop it in the oven and heat it up, bring it out, top it, bake it for a few more minutes, and you got a quick, tasty pizza.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have done both. I have made my own crusts, and I've also we have a freezer full of the purchased ones. It's Cali Light is the brand, and I'll try to put a picture of that in with these meeting notes along with the recipe there. So yeah, you just got to make sure to count everything and follow your spiral book.
Right. Can I ask you, with the Cali Light prepared crusts, do you have any tricks on how to work with those? Because the few times I've tried using the pre-made frozen ones, they've just come out very soggy and not great for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time even getting my own that I make to be very crisp. You can get them crisp around the edges. It's a little bit different once you get into the interior. But with those, they kind of take a long time, a little bit long to cook. But I will cook them, turn them maybe a couple of times, and that at least gets the edges nice and crispy. But I don't have any great tips to where it comes out perfect every time. It's still a little bit of trial and error finding those things. But I'm right there with pizza on YouTube. So yeah, but awesome. Thanks for sharing that, John. Okay, guys. So in 2 weeks, then we will be back on February 16th with Shift 8. Tell your story. And should be a really interesting time. Hope to see everybody back on this, and hopefully we see some new faces as well. If you guys enjoyed this, and I know a lot of you are returns to this, help me share it. We'll get the word out there on social media. A lot of you do already, but we can continue to spread that word. And to if you want, I'll share the link to this and on all the pages. And if you want to take that link to the YouTube channel and send people there, again, all of them are on YouTube. You can go back and watch from the very first one all the way to the present and get caught up. So if you're just tuning in and joining this is your first episode, like Kevin, this is your first one. If you want to go back and see what it is we're talking about in these other shifts, and we just kind of throw off, shift number 2, they're all there on YouTube, and you can put them on in the background and kind of follow along. So all right, I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you for you guys if you're joining us online, and we hope to see you at the next one.